This is a story about a 17-year-old student of a school who fell in love with his own 30-year-old teacher in the same school he was in. They were so much in love with each other that they tried to run away from home to live together. Stories start with a girl named Leela, who just got a new job in a school when she was taking her first class in the school. Then, a student named Jason in the class comes to her and says, "Ma'am, I'm having trouble with my assignment." She really liked the way he was talking to her. Then, she helps him in that assignment. That was the first time they actually talked to each other. After a while, when that boy left the classroom, Leela quickly goes to another teacher to talk to her about Jason. She was kinda feeling attracted to him and wanted to know more about him. She found out that Jason is not good in studies at all, and he often misses his classes too. That's why, when next day class got over and every student had gone home, she calls Jason to her and tells him, "Look, Jason, if you really want to go to college, then you must get much better marks than these. I know you are weak in studies, but if you want, I can help you in that." He asks her, "How can you help me?" She says, "I can give you some extra classes after the school for half an hour if you want, and if you study well, then your marks can improve too." He quickly says yes, and get ready to take those extra classes with her. One day, when he goes to a club, he sees his own teacher dancing with another teacher of the school. She was looking so beautiful that he just kept looking at her for a really long time. Next day, when Leela was teaching in the class, she sees Jason is absent today. She was going crazy looking at his empty chair, and then, when the class gets over, all of a sudden Jason comes over there for that extra class she promised. When Leela looks at him, she gets mad. She says, "Where were you during the class, and why coming now?" Jason says, "I really am sorry. I got stuck somewhere." And then, he sits right next to her. When she was teaching him, Jason says, "Ma'am, I saw you yesterday, dancing in the club. You were looking gorgeous." After hearing this, she starts smiling. When he sees she is smiling, then he quickly grabs her hand. But she didn't like it. She moves his hand away because she was just his teacher. One day, when she was sitting at her home, somebody comes at her door. When she opens the door, she gets shocked. It was Jason, and he was bleeding. She quickly gets him inside and starts applying medicine on his wounds. But when she asks him, "Who did this to you?" then he doesn't say a thing and tries to walk out of there. But Leela wasn't feeling right watching him going alone like that. That's why she goes with him in her own car to drop him home. When they were going home, all of a sudden, rain starts. Then Jason asks her to pull over the car. He gets out and starts enjoying the rain. When she looks at him walking in the rain, she goes after him, but Jason slowly comes close to her and tries to kiss her. But her teacher stepped back and says, "Let's go home." After a while, she drops him at his home, and then she gets back to her own home. Next day, when he comes right in front of her in the class, she tries to avoid him, but he just kept going while staring at her. When he reaches home, he spends whole day looking at her photos. Jason knew that I'm in love with my teacher, but my teacher is trying to keep her a distance from me. One day, Leela goes to the same club with his friend, and Jason goes after her too, but he doesn't come in front of her. After a few minutes, when he sees her going into the washroom, he quickly goes after her and waits for her to come out. When she comes out, all of a sudden he pushes her to the wall and starts kissing her. For a couple of minutes, she kisses him too, but then she pushes him away and asks him to stop. After that, she walks away from him and gets back to his friend. At night, when she was alone at her home, Jason comes over there once again, but at first, she doesn't open the door. She says, "Please go away from here." He says, "I just want to talk to you." But she says, "There is nothing to talk. You are my student and I'm your teacher." Nothing more, but he asks her to open the door at least once. She didn't know what to do. That's why she opens the door. When he comes in, he tries to get close to her, but she doesn't let him. She asks him to stay away from her. No matter how much she refused, he just wasn't listening. He gets close and kisses her anyway. She kept pushing him away, and he just kept kissing her. Then, he took her to the bedroom, and he did romance with her whole night. Next morning, when they wake up, she makes him promise that whatever happened between us last night, you will never, ever tell anyone. Otherwise, I will be in big trouble. Because you are a student of mine in the school, he promised her not to tell anyone. At school, when she was teaching him in that extra class, he says, "I bought a present for you." She asks, "What present?" Then he puts a beautiful locket in her neck. Then he tries to kiss her all over again, but this time, she quickly stops him from kissing her and says, "Please don't do such a thing in school. I might lose my job because of this." He says, "Okay, then promise me we will go out for a long drive tomorrow." Leela says, "Of course, I promise. I will go with you wherever you want." Then next day, they go out of the city to spend some time alone. There, when these two were talking with each other, she kisses him once again and later go for swimming together. After that, they sit there for a really long time and keep taking photos of each other. Next day, when Jason was taking the shower, then his mom takes a quick look at his phone. She sees he is dating his own teacher. She was so mad that she goes straight to her and asks his teacher to stay away from her son. She just couldn't take it that his son is having an affair with his own teacher in the school, and then she come home to convince Jason to stay away from that woman. She is not right for you. He gets shocked to know that how come his mom knows about my affair. He says, "Mom, I'm not just having an affair with my teacher. I really am in love with her." And then he just walks out of his home. He goes straight to her because he knew she would be pissed too. Leela gets so mad by looking at him that she starts arguing with him. She asks him to go away. Jason tries to talk to her that it wasn't my fault, but she just doesn't listen to him and makes him leave her home. But he goes back to her again later at night and gives her a letter from under the door in which he says, "I love you the most in the world." When she opens the door, she sees Jason bought her the flowers to impress her. She starts smiling. Jason comes close to her and starts kissing her, and then he grabs her into his lap and take her into the room. There, they do romance all night. Next morning, they try to find the solution to their problems. That how do we hide our student and teacher love relationship from the world? After thinking for a while, Jason says, "We will leave this city forever and get settled somewhere else." At first, Leela doesn't agree with this, but when Jason forces her to think about it, she says, "Okay, give me some time." One day, when Leela was alone at school, then another teacher from her school comes close to her and tries to kiss her. But Leela tries to stop him and pushes him away, but he just doesn't listen, and then he forces her to do things with him. At night, when Leela was alone at home, all of a sudden Jason comes over there. When he sees Leela in such a horrible condition, he gets shocked. He asks her, "What happened? Who did this to you?" She says, "A teacher in the school forced me." Jason gets so mad that he tries to go to him right away, but Leela says, "We can't do anything about him because he knows about our relationship. He knows we are having an affair with each other." Jason doesn't go anywhere at that time, but next day, when he comes in front of him, then he loses his temper and starts fighting with him. Police arrest Jason for hitting his own teacher in the school and send him to prison. And Leela just couldn't take it that Jason is in prison because of her. That's why she calls that man who forced her. She asks him to meet her at the club. When he comes over there, she says, "If you want me not to send you to prison for the things you did to me, then you gotta take back all of your charges against Jason and gotta let him out of prison. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good for you. If Jason went to jail, so will you." He had no other option but to do exactly what she was asking. He takes back all of his charges against Jason. When he comes out of prison, he goes straight to his teacher, but she leaves her alone for his own sake and moves to another city by herself. This story ends here. You can watch more video by clicking on the screen. If you really did like video, please click the subscribe button for more romantic stories like this.